Welcome back everyone. In today's video we're going to be covering my third game for the Season 11 playoffs, and in this game I'm going against Jurgenmeister. So Jurgenmeister, this guy, I know him, and you mostly see him either at the start of a season, in casuals before playoff, or like in unofficial tourneys, and you don't really see him in the middle of the ladder. But despite that, and having a record that basically says he only started at Season 5 in terms of playoff, and he actually has 2 top 8 finishes in that meantime. So that's actually a pretty impressive record, I would say, considering like he doesn't really play on ladder that much. Like, I don't know how much he practices privately, but to me this is pretty impressive. So it's not an easy opponent, especially in a best of 1. A side note, well, unfortunately I cannot say that this statement is the same on my account, and we will see whether that affects the game or not. So since this is the third game, it's played on Sunday, that means I had like 1 day-ish to kind of analyze the boxes, and I saw that he's mainly playing a fully single target box, which is in essence very similar to mine. And I was thinking that I don't think he will make any drastic changes, so in my box I actually subbed out my Rosen for the CC White, and then I added Archon of the Moon in as well over Ares, because I think this revive unit can be very strong in the late game as the trading units go in front first. And I think Ares is not as effective in this kind of full trade matchup, because I think Ares, he relies on Breeze a bit too much to engage versus things with similar range, which is pretty much everything in these boxes. And as for Jurgen's box, I think it's mostly the same as what I saw the other days. And at the end of the day, it's just very similar. He has... Actually, is this exactly the same? It looks exactly the same actually, except for the fact that our TGS class is different. So, right off the bat, he goes for my Wet Hand, so he's been doing that pretty much every single game. I go for Hilda instead because, I'm playing Archon, and I didn't want to mess around with the possibility that my opponent might first pick the Hilda. It'll be a bit annoying, even though my personal opinion is that Hilda first pick usually loses games. But I'm not very good at playing into that, and I don't have much practice, so I just ban it out. And I take the risk of like whatever he wants to pick first. And I lead with IBC, so nothing special here. He bans my Hilda and Alicia actually, and he follows with his IBC as well. So, my second ban is literally the same thing I've been doing all 3 games, and I go for Lost Ham, which is what I think is the best IBC partner on this map that I have left. Archon's okay, but on desert map it's kinda sus, and I don't think any other unit would bring about the same threat and impact as Lost Ham. He goes for Pepsi and CC White, and then he goes for his own Alicia. So based off these first 2 picks on each side, we can see that I'm already playing reactive, because IBC plus Alicia is like insane threat range when played on anything that's not a sky map. And you can see that he banned my Alicia to prevent me from picking my own Alicia because I'm player 1. And he also bans out both my Hilda and CC White so that the Alicia will, get to play her full game. And seeing that, I ban out TGS and Lost Them. So like I already mentioned that Lost Ham is very good on this map, so I don't want to give both Alicia and Lost Ham. And also, I think TGS on player 2 might be a bit too much, considering that my engage range is not the greatest outside of my Lost Ham. So everything else that follow is like, it's okay, 10 range with IBC buff, but something with a Breeze can easily outrange me, and I don't want like a teleport that can position just nicely outside of my range for that to happen. He bans my Lucretia and TGS, so I think Lucretia on player 1 with IBC is quite scary as well. If you get like a Breeze on your puppet or something like that, you can just go in and get 1 trade. Well, not really free, you lose the Lucretia for it, but you get to keep the puppet. And TGS for similar reasons as, my TGS ban. Goes for Epsilon. So Epsilon is like, kind of a late game security, and it's really pretty decent in trade games. as long as you can, find other people to initiate for him. I finished with banning Elwin and Cherry. So Elwin because it's a revive unit and my units don't really deal that well with Elwin. Cherry can technically 2-hit kill it, but other than that, my other units can't deal with it. And Cherry because of the hit and run is kind of annoying, like one breeze and you just get zoned to the corner of the map. Don't want that to happen. He similarly goes for my Elwin and my Die Hard, and he picks up his own Die Hard. So Die Hard in these kind of games, I find him a little bit similar to Ares, but it's an Ares that can stun after he kills basically, and he, well, also stuns when he fails to kill at least. And they're similar in that I think they're a bit reliant on breeze to engage. Like Die Hard 10 range, if you don't breeze, it's like kind of matching with the opponent and it's not as easy to find chances to get in. So to finish off, I banned Archon and Oboro. So in a full 5 DPS versus 5 DPS, I think Oboro might be a bit too cocky to be given, because if he can manage to find the 1-for-2 trade, you're gonna lose. And Archon because of the reasons I mentioned at the start of the draft. Now, it's a revive unit and it's kind of like a late game insurance unit with a revive. And I mentioned revive twice because yeah, that's the main draw of this hero, even though it's on a desert map. And I pick up my own Archon, and he goes for Werner because CC White doesn't really do too much. It semi-counters Cherry, I guess, but realistically it doesn't do as much. Like it's like actually countered by Archon. It doesn't counter Azusa. Lost Ham don't care about the summon if he uses Norgard, and Cherry similarly. It's basically just 2 cherries. So yeah. So we come into the game and we see Dragoons on my Cherry, which is very telling that it's Scepter if you can't tell from the attack. And beyond that, I have S/Lost Hand because there's no tank, so double 3 range attacks. Azusa regular, Archon regular, and IBC with mass attack Senses. And on his side, you can see Alicia with 2 attack skills, assuming she manages to survive after the first hit. Epsilon with Shadow Stealth, Werner with the Blades of Freedom actually to counter Archon, Die Hard with Oath, and IBC with mass attack and Unicorns. So IBC with different troops, so his IBC can run through the middle and mine cannot. But usually on this map I still favor Senses anyway. I don't think the terrain is that much of a hindrance on this map at least. So starting off, I immediately move my IBC forward, which technically can be seen as a little bit of a mistake. Depends on how you look at it, right? Because IBC in this position actually means that Alicia, after buff by his IBC, can reach almost anything on my side, because if you add another 2 movement, actually another 3, because right now Alicia is only benefiting from her talent twice from Epsilon. So you have to add 3 movement, 2 from IBC buff and 1 more from the max talent, which means that she can reach this tile and her egg again will reach here, which means that she can piggyback off my IBC. So it's a bit of a rush move, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake, because I don't think there's much I can do to stop the Alicia from getting her trade. So the most I can do is try to kind of bait her into taking a kill that is not my main priority. So in that sense, I think my IBC move here was actually, kind of whatever. Like, that's my mentality when I fight these kind of team comps. Like, I don't really try to hide and wait until my breeze procs against them. I just, kind of just tank it like a man. And this move right here is actually really obnoxious. Like, it's not the first time I've fought against this, but like, just something blocking the middle, and especially it's something that I cannot remove because I have no AoE on my side. So this Epsilon just acts as a barrier for his entire team on the desert map. And it's also a guaranteed piggyback from Alicia, as you can see, she can reach here right now. So on my side, the units that I want to prioritize protecting the most would be Lost Ham, because Lost Ham is the main unit that might allow me to take a favorable trade, because he can run back and force them to engage me on my side. So it's effectively like a 1 for 1.5, because I forced the skill out and they are on my side. So it's a lot easier for me to counter kill compared to being stuck on their side. So this is the main unit that I want to keep, so I don't really mind if he tries taking anything else, and Alicia can't go through Azusa, so it's really these three that are at risk of dying right now. Diehard sets up the Oath and gets a breeze on that turn, but it doesn't do much. Here Alicia chooses to jump in for my IBC. So this one might be a little bit of a slight inaccuracy, as Jurgen himself pointed out to me after the game, because there was really no reason for Alicia to make a move at this particular turn. Or this particular action, not turn. It's definitely coming on turn 1, but he could have moved his Werner first, because at this point I only have Azusa left, so all he really has to do is just move it slightly outside of my range. And I will have to move Azusa after that, and then Alicia comes in for the kill, and I will have to pick one to deal with, because this Alicia actually has a second skill, so I think it's like enough to kill my Cherry. So I will have to pick and choose who to die basically. But because he did that, it becomes a 1 for 1 instead of a 2 for 2. So I thought about it a little bit, and if he did choose to move the Werner first and take the Alicia kill at the end of the turn, I think I would have still gone for the Werner kill on the next turn, because I think Archon is more useful than Cherry in the 3 versus 3 because of his revive. And you know, Cherry, he has like very good range, especially if she breezes and the stun, but I think overall I will value Archon more, especially because Archon is a pretty decent Epsilon counter. And in that 3 versus 3 of, let me see, it's going to be Azusa, Archon, and Lost Hand versus Pepsi, Diehard, and IBC. I think I will have the advantage as long as his Diehard doesn't go crazy with breezes. So you can say it's kind of a mistake in terms of macro, but I think the end result might not be that much different even if he got the 2 for 2 instead of 1 for 1. But anyways, play moves on, and I just kind of dance around a little bit because of this Epsilon. I actually, you know, can't really get too much of an initiative. Just waiting for my Lost Ham to get in range for a kill, which he is now. Because with this position on my Lost Hand, now I can hook directly onto the pillar instead of the forest. That means I can reach the Werner, which is honestly the best unit he can offer me. That is, well, best for him, not best for me. It's like the least value unit here, I would say, compared to the rest. But after that kill, I managed to run back onto my side, which is very annoying. So right now it's essentially a 4 versus 3. Although it turns into a 3 versus 3 very soon. But you can see why this is impactful, because instead of a 3 versus 3 with both teams on their respective sides, now it's a 3 versus 3 with one of his units right in front of me for killing. So a very slight difference, but you can see why it matters in this sense. Here I try to go for a cheeky place, 3 range Shadow Raid, to try and bounce and stun the Diehard in the fog, but I didn't get it, so I have to settle for the IBC, which already used a skill, so it's like not really valuable. But you know, it is what it is, because I needed one more movement in order to reach the Diehard, and I didn't get the breeze, so yeah. That comes in, just kills my Cherry. And then he chooses to stun my Archon, which I think was a slightly incorrect play, because now that it's a 2 versus 2, it's like a lot easier to kind of visualize the end game. And after he does this, all I have to do is just kill this, and it's 1 versus 2, and no matter what he does with the Epsilon, even if he does manage to kill the Azusa, my Archon will wake up and then I'll just kill him eventually, like when because he will kill and then I wake up and then he will go into Shadow Stealth and then I'll just wait into the water, and with 60% health, I think no matter what, I will beat the Epsilon 1-on-1 with Archon. So if he didn't choose to stun my Archon, he chose to stun my Azusa. That means Epsilon can kill it in one hit. I will have to commit my skills in order to kill the Epsilon. And then, wait, no. Let me go over. So here, right, if he stuns my Azusa, it's my turn. I will probably just normal attack I'll Tidal Surge and normal attack the Diehard to lower his health. He will kill the stun Azusa in one hit because her talent doesn't proc when she's stunned. And then I will use my hook skill and act again on the Epsilon, and then I will have to chase down the Diehard after that, which I think still results in my win, but it's a little bit less clean and a little bit less sure in that sense. So he goes for this, I kill this, and then yeah, this is a pretty interesting matchup because Jurgen tells me after the game that so far this has been a guaranteed kill for him in his other games. But based on the conditions on this specific game, I find that a little bit sus because this is a 20% damage dealt Epsilon against a Azusa with no defensive buffs, and he actually got the full crit off on his zombies, if I remember correctly. So I'm just gonna slow down this and then you can see the damage distribution. So Epsilon is doing about 20 damage per hit to the troops, and then the zombies are doing 1.4k to my troops, and the rest of it will be onto the body. So Epsilon is only doing 20 damage per hit, which means that even with 20 hits, it was only doing 400 damage, which is not enough to kill one monk. That means the zombies are fully responsible for doing this damage, which is actually really close. He just needed one more hit on my Azusa's main body, I think. He got 1.4k crit on the troops, which is... I don't know if he would get the one tick if the zombies didn't crit, but considering zombies have built-in 35% crit chance on top of whatever Pepsi's faction buff and whatever, I think it's safe to say that the zombies are expected to crit here, and it's expected to one tick the fighting monks. So what's left is really Azusa's base health. So one interesting thing that I want to point out is that I'm running the Exorciser class on Azusa, which is the tankier class with low attack but with the damage increased hard bond. And my HP enchant on this specific Azusa set isn't that high, it's 14% HP, which technically mattered, one of them would have mattered in Azusa surviving here. But this is considering the Epsilon has a damage dealt 20%, so if I'm on terrain or if I have a random defensive buff from a Tenyo, I think this kill just straight up will not happen. And I would say, don't draft with that matchup in mind. Don't draft expecting your Epsilon to kill the Azusa, I think, based on what this game has shown. But anyway, it's a super close endgame. And I'm just gonna let it play out. The Epsilon tries one more hit on Azusa, but it's not even close anymore. And then Archon finishes the game. So because the hook breaks the shield, and then I get a full attack off on the Epsilon. So I'm pretty sure that Archon will always win this endgame 1 versus 1. And this is one of the closest playoff games I've ever had, especially for a BO1, so props to Jurgen. And I'm not just saying this because I know he watches my channel occasionally, at least the streams, but it's a full 5 DPS versus 5 DPS game, and it's relatively cleanly played out on both ends, minimal mistakes. The things that happen on turn 1, I wouldn't necessarily call them mistakes because I think based on the end game, my draft actually has a little bit of an advantage, assuming I don't get unfavorable trades in the early game. So if we trade 1 for 1, I think technically I have 2 revive units and 2 units with stuns, so that will help me out a lot in the end game. And I think that is basically what carried me over the finish line. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. See you guys in the next one.